Good evening, buonasera, bonsoir. Welcome everybody. It is a special Pausa caffé. As you can hear, it will not be in Italian this time, it will be in English. And we do that with a lot of pleasure for our special guest. So just few information, before starting. I can see I could see, I think I can see your messages. So if you can type on the message below, where are you watching the video from? Would be nice. I think we're gonna reach several countries tonight. And if you can also share the video so that also other people can watch it, would be much appreciated. So I will start saying few things. I will start. People say that cannot listen. Now, okay, please tell me if the audio works. Rome, Italy. Good evening. Shalom from Switzerland. I think you can hear me. So I've got few memories of my childhood, but one of them is really clear on my mind. I was in the high school. There was a friend of mine that I hope is gonna come tonight that gave me a cassette with a strange name on it, because it was not the typical pop rock, and it was and I really remember the moment when I saw that cassette with the text on it, NOA. It was, I think, 94, 96, I don't know exactly, but I remember that. So it's such a pleasure tonight to have NOA with us here in Pausa Cafe. So Brussels, call Tel Aviv. I think that Tel Aviv will answer. Let's see. Yes. Good evening. Erev Tov.
Shalom.
Hi.
Ciao, shalom.
I'm very pleased to look at you, because we've been talking already a little bit on WhatsApp in the previous days, but it's so glad to see you. I hope so. My first question it is, how are you?
Well, not great. I could be better. The situation in Israel is so terrible, and I live in Israel. I'm sitting here in my studio. You see, I put some, like in your studio, I have colorful lights because they make me happy and help me to deal. I also have other things that make me happy in back of it, like musical instruments, a flag of peace, the Pachian back there, a painting by Pat Metheny. That
Yes, I've
painting where I'm
seen that
pointing,
already.
yeah, and there you have a painting of Gildor and myself singing in demonstrations. Painter painted us as we're standing in front of hundreds of thousands of people fighting for peace, for justice, for democracy. Jeanne d'Arc, Yemenite Jeanne d'Arc. Anyway, so these are the elements of my life.
You're
But
surrounded. Yeah.
in this moment, I'm in quite a great deal of pain because of what is happening in Israel and in Palestine. I've been working for peace for so many years, warning against what happened. It's like my worst nightmare. And
It is
and
exactly what I was thinking when I saw your video that I think
Mhm,
you posted several months ago, with a
mhm.
black background, in which you were explaining in English which were the troubles going on in Israel. And it looked like really, they say, previsione. It looked like you were watching the future and
Yeah.
describing the future.
Most
It was,
unfortunately, I've been saying this for that. I mean, that video is one that I released during the demonstrations against the dictatorship coup,
yeah.
which was happening in the last 11 months, where this insane government we have now was really on rampage to destroy Israel's democracy. But the Palestinian Israeli conflict, alongside this horror story, is something that I've been involved in since the murder of Yitzhak Rabin,
Exactly.
which happened in 1995,
5
November
on
4th.
4th of November. We're
And
gonna
so
talk
you can
about it. We're
imagine
gonna
that's
talk about
plenty
it.
of years. So it's been many years that I've been inside this, and to see it come
Mhm.
finally to this tragic point is devastating for me.
Devastating.
It could
Yeah.
have been avoided so many times.
Yeah, I can imagine that. But I would like to introduce our talk with some questions about your past, because
Okay.
it's so interesting because you were born in Tel Aviv, from Yemeni parents,
Hmm.
And at the age of 2, correct me if I'm wrong, you flew to New York, where you had your all your life.
Hmm.
So which part you so Israel, Yemen, and United States, which is the strongest part in your life, in your
Well,
experience?
you have to continue and say that when I was 16, I came back to Israel, and
Yeah,
I've been living here ever since. I fell in love with an Israeli young man, and then I decided to follow him, follow my heart, and come here. And so now the large part of my life has been lived here in Israel. But I also started traveling, like you mentioned,
yeah.
that first album produced by Pat Metheny really changed my life.
And
And
how that story went, because it's quite strange. You didn't met Pat Metheny in New York.
no,
It
no, no.
was through
Well,
Gildor, isn't it?
yeah. So what happened was I came as a high school student still to Israel.
Yeah.
And then I served in the Israeli army. I was singing in the army. We have a musical band,
Yeah.
military bands, and I was singing. Then I went to study music in a school called the Rimon School of Music, which is a little bit like the Berkeley School of Music in Boston, the
Okay.
Israeli variation of it. A small school oriented around jazz and contemporary music.
Yeah.
And my teacher, the most amazing teacher, was Gil Dor.
Yeah.
And he was also one of the founders of the school.
Yeah.
And to make a very long story short, we connected through some student teacher project, and we ended up having this 34-year career together. But right at the beginning, when I started playing Gil my songs, and he was, I suppose he was quite impressed, and he wanted to help me. And he decided the way to help me was to connect me to Pat Metheny.
Not
He
bad.
knew he knew Pat Metheny because Pat had visited the school,
Yeah.
visited Rimon when he was performing in Israel, and he did a master class, and Gil was his host.
Yeah.
And when Pat left, he said, if you ever run into any super talent, let me know. I'm always looking for. So Gil decided that I was that person that Pat meant, and he decided to make the connection. And
So
then
you flew to
Pat,
New York and you
well, I
recorded.
flew to New York to visit my parents because my parents were still living in the United
Okay.
States at the time. And Gil said, if you're in New York, then call Pat Metheny. And I thought he was crazy. Why would Pat Metheny want to talk to me? What? I thought that was a fantasy. But again, to make a long story short, we
You did
actually
it.
did communicate. And I played him my songs, and he liked them. And he decided to produce an album for me. And he wanted Gil to be involved too as arranger and guitarist.
Yeah. Because
And
he
that's
didn't play in the album. In that album, he didn't play.
He
But
did. Pat didn't play. No, Pat
no.
was just the producer.
Yeah.
He didn't want to play because he didn't want to dominate his sound, to dominate the songwriting and our sound. And he did us an amazing service by doing that. He really, I think we owe our international career to Pat Metheny. There's
Yeah.
no doubt about that. He not only he gave us his love and his amazing talent and his reputation, he believed in us. He produced and funded the album himself. He traveled with me to Los Angeles to
You
make
did in
sure.
Los Angeles.
Yeah, we made the album in New York,
Yeah. Okay.
and then we traveled together to LA because he wanted to introduce us to David Geffen so that Geffen would sign us to Geffen Records. Can you
Okay.
imagine? And he did that. And we got signed to Geffen Records, and that's how we started our crazy journey. Really, very much thanks to this man.
But it was not your first release, because the first one, it was together with Gildor
Yeah, but that
before
was
that.
a very local release.
Yeah. Yeah.
NOA was the first international album.
Yeah.
Before that, we made an album, and then we made a sort of, I don't remember which came exactly first, but the two albums in Israel. One of them was recorded live in concert,
Yeah.
and it had a lot of jazz standards on it and some of my original songs and other things. And then came an album that was a very life changing album as well for us here in Israel, which was based on poetry of two women that I wrote music to. And that album really exploded. It got multi-platinum status, and it until today those songs have really been integrated into what I think is classic Hebrew Israeli contemporary Israeli music.
Okay. But at that time, you were not still writing in Hebrew, isn't it? You
I
were
was
writing
not.
in English.
I was writing only in English, and that's why that is poetry by these two women
Yeah.
that I wrote music to together with Gil. And it was only later that I also started writing Hebrew lyrics. But English to this day is my stronger language. It's definitely my artistic language more than
Yeah.
Hebrew.
Okay. Amazing. And and when and how your first connection with Italy started?
Oh wow, that's a funny story. So I arrived in Italy through the south. Okay, so what happened is that I had the chance to perform in this festival in France, and the festival director in France was part of a jazz promoters network. And after our show, which was very beautiful, Gildor and me,
Just
he
in duo,
circulated what?
in duo,
Yeah,
you and
just
Gildor.
Gildor and myself. We for many years we performed just the two of us, and so this man circulated to his whole network. Look, I discovered this act from Israel. I recommend that you take it. And it was fax. Remember, this was before mobile phones, before internet, before
Yeah.
everything. So, and then a few days later, we got a fax from Sicily from this man by the name of Pompeo Benincasa, who
Okay.
said, I have a festival. It's called Donna del Deserto in Catania, and I would like to invite the Yemenite singer NOA. Now, I understood later that he thought I was some kind of a Miriam Makeba, an
Yeah,
older
of course.
woman, Yemenite folk singer, because those were the kind of people in his festival. And then I
Yeah.
come like 23 years old with this very short, small shirt with all my belly and ripped up jeans the way I used to dress at the time. And he's like, "Are you the Yemenite?" I told him, "Well, it's not exactly us. Yemenite is rarely American. It's a mishmash." Anyway, that's how I started my love affair with Italy then. And with Pompeo
And
Benincasa,
that was in which year
that
was
was
that?
in 1990. It was before NOAA. It was 1992 or
Okay,
three,
before the CD with
before
Pat
the
Metheny.
release of NOAA, of
Oh,
that, the
okay,
Pat
okay.
Metheny album.
So
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. And then, yeah, and then and then the real intense love happened with the two amazing events. One of them is singing in the Vatican for Pope
yeah,
John Paul the third, John Paul the second, the third,
second. There
the
is
second,
not yet
second,
the
right?
third.
Yeah, okay, second. Pope John second. Yeah, sorry, and amazing man, Karol Wojtyla, the
Yeah,
Polish Pope, and with which I developed quite a relationship, and I was invited many times to sing, and I sang the Ave Maria,
yeah,
which I guess was it was quite dramatic because not only was I the first Israeli Jewish singer to sing in the Vatican, I
yeah.
was also coming with a very famous prayer that was originally in Latin, but I was singing it in English, and
With
it
your
was
words, with your own words,
my
isn't it?
own lyrics that were a prayer for peace, relevant in my eyes to all people. So I was taking it away from the strictly Catholic place and making it accessible to anyone.
Yeah,
And the Vatican embraced that. I have to say, it was amazing that they embraced me with my complex identity, with my statements about what religion, the function of religion should be in our lives. Wow. I mean, it was life changing. And it made me immediately, I became loved by the Italian public overnight. That song changed my life. And then, by the way, I've performed in the Vatican so many times since for three popes. It was
yeah.
Pope John Paul and then Benedict, very briefly, and many times for Francis. So
Okay,
I sort of became part of the
absolutely,
Vatican
absolutely.
soundtrack. And then came Benigni, Niccolo Piovani and Roberto Benigni with that amazing film, La Vita Bella, that they offered
And the
me.
connection, the connection with Benigni, how worked? You
Well,
knew each
that's
other
also an
before that,
interesting story. I'm full of stories. So this it was because Nicola Piovani was the great composer who
of
who,
course.
who composed the soundtrack, and he and Benini soundtrack,
We all know
but there
that.
was
Yeah.
no song. There was no theme song. Only instrumental music.
Yes.
So then they had to think, and then they were releasing at the time, there used to be something called a VHS. Remember that?
Yeah.
Like an actual, they used to sell
Cassette. Yes.
VHS cassettes. So they wanted to release the VHS with a song, not only
Okay.
a song.
So in the cinema, in the movies, it went without the song,
Without, no, the song
and
came later.
later,
Yes,
voila, that's what I thought because I
that's
didn't remember the song in the movie,
it was
but I
not. It
associate
was
it so
only,
much.
but then the song became so okay. So the funny story is that the interesting story is that it appears that Nicola Piovani had been very ill for a long period of time, and he was in hospital. And the album that he listened to again and again that helped him heal happened to have been one of my albums called Calling. It was the one that came
Yes.
right after the Pat Metheny album.
Yes.
And he loved that album and he listened to it in a loop. So when it was suggested, who should we bring to sing or to write lyrics to this theme, he suggested me, loving my music, and also because I'm Israeli, and he thought because of the theme of the film,
Of
it
course.
made sense.
Yes.
And so lucky, fortunately, I mean, very lucky for me, I got this invitation, and we were shocked, and we were so honored. And so Gildor and I wrote the lyrics in Hebrew and in English, and we produced the song in Israel. And Benigni loved it. And then I met Benigni. What a funny guy. What a wonderful guy. And he loved the song. And that was it. You know, our life changed again.
Amazing. Amazing. But it's not all, because you have been part of the, how do you say, the broad, you were seen from the broad public in Italy many times at the festival di Sanremo, two times,
Yes.
if
I
I
think
count
3 or 4 times because I sang as a guest three
in
times,
2000.
and then I was also a contestant, you know.
Ah, several
I,
times as a guest. I
oh
counted just
yes.
one.
Oh
Whoa.
yeah, 3 or 4 times as a guest and
Wow.
once as an actual in the competition itself.
Amazing. Yes.
Yeah.
Amazing. Listen, I wanted to show you some. It's full of messages, full of messages.
Ah,
Let me check. Ah, okay. There is a Edith from Switzerland. Shalom.
Maggie, hello.
People from Brussels, of course.
Very
Zoe, good
good.
evening.
Beautiful.
Brussels again. We have
Gabby.
Holland,
Holland.
and then
Yay.
of Tom Adar, Erev Tov, Tom.
Hello, Tom. Hello, Tom.
Imola, from Imola, Italy.
Imola. Che bel posto.
Because
Michele.
I've invited also from Rome, El
Yes.
Salvador. So we go south.
This is
No,
so nice to see all these
Paraguay.
beautiful people. Paraguay. Wow.
Yeah,
Qué
let me go.
bueno. Gracias
And
por
then
venir.
and then
No,
Napoli, Napoli. I knew it was
let's
special for you.
try. Mwah.
Again from Napoli, but we will talk about Naples.
Oh yeah, Naples. I
Maybe,
have
maybe,
a love affair with the city.
absolutely, with the city, with the musicians, because you
Yeah,
were playing with Pino Daniele
yeah.
and with the solid string quartet for
I,
many
I
years.
played with the solo string quartet 2 days ago. We
Exactly.
had a concert in Modena, in the Cattedrale Duomo di Modena. I have a long friendship and history with them. They're amazing musicians, and we
And
made an album of Neapolitan songs, Noapolis.
also
Uh,
the live album, that it's amazing. I think is
yeah,
my
live in Tel Aviv. They came to Israel. We did this wonderful double album together. Yeah, I love those guys. They are just wow.
let me finish the
Fabio,
okay.
ciao. Isa,
Isa
lovely.
Zanella. It's endless, guys. I'm sorry if I'm not showing everything. Barcelona, something we haven't,
Barcelona. I
and
miss.
Germany.
I so miss everybody.
Okay, then
No.
we will read it carefully. Okay, but what is so we've been talking about Benigni,
Yeah.
the Vaticano connection,
Hmm.
and l'Arca di Noa. What a wonderful name for a festival. What is
Thanks.
l'Arca di Noa? Tell us.
Well, L'Arcadino is first a foundation that I
Okay.
created 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago. The idea was to create a home for all the activism that I've been involved with in together with Gildor for all of these years. I spent a lot of my time working for human rights, for equal rights, for the empowerment of the weak in society, and for peace between Israel and Palestine. I also became very involved in the climate crisis and in activism of that sort, and a beautiful project to try to save the coral reefs of the northern Red Sea called Reefs of Hope.
Yes.
Unfortunately, the war has really stopped that project, but I'm hoping that we will be able to get back on track when things calm down here. Hopefully, they will. So I decided alongside the foundation, to have a festival. that would, I mean, in my vision, it would be a festival of many years, year after year. It would be a place for all the people to meet, the different people that are involved in the vision of Noah's Ark. Not only fans and friends, but also people carrying all the different messages that the foundation supports and powers. And in my vision, there would be, lectures and meetings and concerts and food and people sharing ideas. So that's my bigger vision. We just
Yeah.
started in Arona. We had two beautiful editions of our festival in Arona, on top of, above Lago Maggiore.
Was it before the COVID or after the COVID?
It was after. It was
Okay.
just last year and the year before. So
Okay.
it was off the end of the first edition was just off the end of COVID, and the second one was, it was more relaxed. But we had amazing musicians from all over the world coming in 4 days of music. This year we will have a small. I hope we're just working on it now. Because of the war, it's been very difficult. Also emotionally for me because I
Yeah.
was just destroyed. For the
Yeah.
last 3 months, I couldn't do anything but just try to pick up the pieces and help my people and cry for my neighbors, and that's what we've been doing. So, but now I met this group, the Fondazione Arca, which is
Hmm.
very similar in the name. It's a foundation that
Yeah.
helps homeless and refugees, and they invited me to see this L'Abbazia Mirasole, which is also close to Milan, and hopefully we will be able to host Noah's Ark in the L'Abbazia. Abbazia?
Abbazia. Abbazia.
Yeah, Mirasol.
In the
And
month of
this in June. We're
in
looking at
June.
June, and I will keep you posted on the artistic program. It's going to be centered around peace, obviously,
Amazing.
um, and um, and I'm very excited about this, of the possibility of this happening. Hopefully on my birthday, which is June 23rd, and so
And we are so glad that that is happening in Italy.
you're invited
Yeah.
to celebrate with me. Milan is, I really wanted it to be around. Milan is a pretty easy place to reach from many places in Europe. So hopefully that will make it possible for my friends from different places to come and celebrate peace and hope for the future and my birthday.
Okay, great, great. I will note that and I will make it public when it will be official.
Thank you.
Just keep me posted. And so, talking about friendship, I see that there is a friend of us that is
Woo!
actually our link, the bridge
That's
between
right.
us.
That's
So
right.
I want to show, I want to introduce Father Benedetto. There it
Yay!
is. Good
Ciao,
evening.
Ciao,
Benny!
ciao, shalom, erev tov. Ciao, cari.
Shalom, Father Benny.
Benny, come stai? Everything is fine?
Yes, yeah, I'm just a little bit sick. I have a cough, but I'm okay. I was in Italy a few days ago, so I'm still
Hi. Hi on Italy.
right.
Great.
So
So,
Father
Benny,
Benedetto is also from Napoli. Another gift Napoli has given the world,
Yeah,
together with the beautiful music and amazing culture and the fashion.
yeah.
Father Benny is one of the sweetest, nicest, smartest people I've ever met, and I'm so happy that we connected in this life.
Yeah.
great.
Same here.
I can sign it. It's great.
Mhm.
Listen, Benny, but your story is also very special. Not only because you put me in contact with Noah, because we met many years ago, few years ago. I don't know how many. We met in Jerusalem when I was coming for Easter, and I was searching desperately to find a way to pass the week of Easter in a meaningful way. And you were that way. So, but you live in a community, and that community in Jerusalem is absolutely extraordinary, special. Do you want to say something about that? You want to tell us something about that?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's very special, and it's the reason why I left the most beautiful country in the world and I moved.
To the
Uh,
second most beautiful country in the world.
and I decided to come and stay here for life, for good. I'm a Catholic priest for Hebrew-speaking Catholics in Israel, and I'm in charge of a little small congregation here in Jerusalem. But I fell in love with this congregation when I arrived 14 years ago. Now it's really 14 years ago. I said, "This is my home."
Can you
Uh,
tell us? Can you tell us why it is so special, Catholic community speaking in Hebrew? Why it is
Yeah,
so
it's
delicate and special at the same time?
not only the, I mean, the language, of course, is important, but it's the medium of the language, what the language allows us to do, to build bridge with the Jewish people. And we all know how complicated, how difficult have been relationships between Christians and Jews for 2000 years, we can say. So living in Israel and speaking the language and breathing the culture and being part of the same society, trying to contribute, trying to, yeah, to live together and contribute to this place is it's a privilege, and it's a unique. We
Yeah,
are the only uh, place on earth where, as Christians, we can live as a minority among a Jewish majority. I mean, the last thing this happened was 2,000 years ago when the first church was established, and then in centuries you always had the opposite: small minorities of Jews living among Christians, and then there were problems, up until the Holocaust in the during Second World War. So we are here with this huge desire for reconciliation with the Jewish people and showing them a friendly face of a church who is not worried with converting the Jews, but to engage in a dialogue and to learn together. So
yeah,
one of the most beautiful things we do, we study the Bible together, Jews and Catholics, in Hebrew. No.
amazing. No,
I wanted to say that I had the honor of taking part in the mass in Christmas in this beautiful congregation, and I was blown away because to hear a mass in Hebrew is really mind-boggling. You
it
have to
is. It
constantly
was
think yourself,
absolutely.
what are these people saying? Wait a second, what's going on? Where are we? And that is so beautiful because it really enables you to. First of all, I understood for the first time what's being said in the mass. Okay, what are the actual words? What's the story? And second, hearing it in my own language, sung by the way perfectly by Benny and Tiago, Father Santiago, which sing together like angels, and the music is music I think they wrote, or this kind of,
Yeah,
it's
they
not the
composed it
normal
themselves.
mass music. It's so beautiful. They sound, it's like a folk duo with this guitar and beautiful harmony. I was really, my husband and I, first of all, we felt so welcome and so embraced. And I thought, this is the way it should be. Religion should be a place of bringing people together, of inclusiveness. It should be a part of your identity that enables you to embrace other identities, and just a place of grace. So I really thank Father Benny for introducing me and my husband to your beautiful congregation.
And
It's
in the
been a
day of
privilege, really a privilege. People were astonished that is she really here?
that was the you made me a great gift for Christmas, because we stayed in Brussels, and it was the our first or second time that we stayed in Brussels for Christmas. We were quite sad, actually. Normally we go to Italy, and with all that is happening all over the world, especially in Israel and Palestine, we were quite sad. And suddenly I saw your video that Benny sent me, and it was, I would say, una boccata d'acqua fresca, a fresh air for me, really. And I want to show it to everyone. I don't know if everyone saw it. Let's put with the music. I think this one I can. Wait, I'll put it
One,
back.
two, three.
Yes, yes. Do you want to, Noah? Do you want to explain which are what those two songs are?
Of
to the people
course.
that are looking.
It's pretty crazy. First of all, you guys heard how beautifully those guys sing. They're just
Oh,
extraordinary singers. They have Benny, you and Tiago have pure, beautiful voices, and you have great pitch, and it's a pleasure. Believe me, I'm very particular, and I wouldn't say it if it weren't true. So that's one. So what you heard there is something that is just a perfect musical example of what we were talking about. It's a Hanukkah song called Maus Tzur that these priests were singing, and a Christmas song, Deck the Halls, which this Jewish girl, Jewish Yemenite girl, was singing. I grew up in the United States. I grew up with a lot of Christmas carols, and there are beautiful songs in there. And I remember, but I also got a very religious Jewish education. So I had all the Hebrew songs and everything. And as a little girl, I was musical from a young age. And one day I said, well, look at that. These two songs, they go in
They
perfect
match
harmony.
together.
How nice is that? But there was always a problem at the end. At the end, it became dissonant. Then I met Gildor, the genius, and Gil said, "Well, if you just move it one bar, it'll work at the end." And then it did. So from that moment, I started singing all of our family events and our holidays. We did
Okay.
it. My children grew up singing these songs. I wanted them to know that it was possible for religions to work together in harmony, and music is wiser than we are. So the musical language already speaks the language of the heart that many people often find it difficult to speak, but we should.
Yes, because it goes beyond rationality
Yeah,
somehow
that's right.
and touches it very deep.
and
But
also
you,
Christmas and Hanukkah are always very close. They always, almost always happen the same month, and there's this theme of light, which is in common. So it's perfect. It was
but
really fitting, and we had
Absolutely.
such a good time
Oh, yeah.
rehearsing.
that
It
was
was
the
in
Christmas
our
day.
sitting room. What?
That was the Christmas day, but you two had met before.
Yeah.
Yeah, a few
So
weeks before. Yeah.
just few weeks before,
Hmm.
during the shootage of this video.
Right. That's
And
right.
was it in Jerusalem, this
Let
video
me
as
tell
well?
you about it. It's very interesting. First of all, I heard about Father Benny from a friend of ours, Matteo, from Lucca, from a festival in Lucca, where I was invited to sing a sunrise concert at 6 o'clock in the morning. And I was so
There it
impressed
is.
with, there's Father Benny.
There you are.
And then we started corresponding for a while, but didn't get a chance to meet. I was then invited to what you see as a congregation called the Zion Congregation. And
Okay.
it's a progressive, inclusive, wonderful congregation in Jerusalem, which invites people to come as they are, in the words of Rumi, to come as they are and to practice their Judaism in any way that they see fit. And also, it is the Rabbi Tamar, who is a wonderful, charismatic character. You see her right there. That's Rabbi Tamar.
Yes, sir.
And here you see representatives of different religions, the Islam and Father Benny of Catholicism, of Christianity. There were representatives from the hostage families. You know that we are
Yeah.
experiencing a horrible, traumatic event where hundreds of people were taken hostage and 136 are still there. And they chose to sing together in this group singing a song called Mizmor Laila, Keren Or, one of Gildor and myself, one of our most popular songs. And
Can
here
you
I
tell
am,
us which is
Gira
the
side. And
what?
this type of singing is very interesting because the audience is taught to sing, and there's different harmonies. See that girl, she was wonderful. She's teaching the audience the different parts, and then everyone sings together, and it's just it's so inspiring and so uplifting. And here he's lighting the candles and saying the bracha. It's the blessing. It's the first night of Hanukkah, and it was really in the thick of the war. We're still in the thick of the war. Everyone was so depressed. And
Yeah.
this was a real moment of elevation of the spirit. And I'm so grateful to have been part of it.
Can you tell us why the song Keren Or? There is a special meaning for that?
Well, Kerenor was written by the poet. The words were written by the poet Leah Goldberg. It's from that
Ah,
album that I was speaking about before.
yeah.
And it says one of the lines in, you see that we're in a big black tent. So one of the lines of the song say, light a small candle in the black tent of my heart. And from the north to the Yemen in the south, a huge light will shine. And it's about hope, and it's about the importance and the power of light. And it's so relevant. It was so relevant to our time, to our feeling, and to the festival of Hanukkah and Christmas. And so everything came together, and we experienced this moment of grace.
Amazing. The
Right.
video. I
My
just
first
wanted.
impression when I entered the tent, I told Father Rabbi Tamar, you couldn't have chosen a darker place than this. He said, yes, but we're going to make lights. And
That's
indeed,
right.
And you did.
And we did, yeah, absolutely. It was so beautiful. We had such a good time, and there was so much love and energy and power in the room. A moment of feeling happy to be alive in a time that we are very often just so anguished. It's my cousin, by the way, Itamar, right there on the screen. And so it was so wonderful to be there, and I'm grateful for that opportunity.
For the people that are watching us, you can find this video on Noah's YouTube page. It's
Yeah,
very nice. The song is beautiful. It's a very known song
yeah,
of Noah, and the video is amazing because it's really
yeah.
it's really very nice.
and that was the first time we actually saw each other, but she didn't know that I was the one. So I greeted her after the song and I said, we started from the end because my aim was to get to the point where I could sing with you. And we started off with it. And I said, that's you. You are the one. And then that gave me the courage to invite her for Christmas. And immediately she accepted with her sweetest, the sweetest man in the world is Noah's husband, Asher.
Yeah.
You should know him.
Yeah, he's here actually in my studio listening. He's on the side here listening.
Hello, good evening.
Yeah,
Shalom.
he's there. He's always with me. This amazing. We've been together since I was 16 years old. Yeah, so
Just when you arrived, immediately you
he's
met.
he's the man that I came for. Remember, I told you
Okay.
I came from New York because I met an Israeli soldier. Actually, at the time, I was a teenager, and it was on a summer vacation, and I fell in love with him. My parents said I was crazy to move to Israel because he said it's a boyfriend. You'll have other boyfriends. I said no,
No, that's the
I'm not gonna
one.
have other boyfriends. It was prophetic, but yeah, here I am, still 36 years later. Mhm.
So you finished the school in Israel alone, actually.
Yeah, for many years I was alone. My parents came only 15 years after I already came.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Amazing.
But I was never alone.
Amazing. Benny, I thank you very much for being with us tonight. It was a pleasure. I'm looking forward to see you hopefully in March,
Mhm.
and we keep in touch. Thank you for bridging, for putting us in contact.
It was
And
Thank you
not
for
difficult.
Annie, thank you for existing.
I have no merits.
Yes, you do.
we should
Thank
thank
you
his
very much for
parents.
hosting me, and I wish you a good continuation. We have
We
important
have
things to talk about. I need to go to bed. I'm a priest. Priests go to bed early. Okay. See you soon.
Bye,
grazie,
Bye.
Ben.
Benny.
Bye.
Ciao.
Bye.
Shalom.
Grazie. Ciao, ciao. So Benny has to leave, even because we want to talk about some sensitive topics, and it's better
Yes,
to do it just between us.
of course.
And I want to start from another video
Mhm.
of which we are going to see just the images. This one as well can be seen on YouTube. And that
Woo!
song is so special to me because that was another colpo al cuore, as you would say in Italian. Few days later, the video that we have just showed, I saw a concert of you and Mira Awad in Germany. That
Wow.
was in December.
Mhm.
That was another version of this same song. How did you met Mira? How the project with her started? Can you tell us?
I actually met Mira in the year 2000. So you can see Mira and I have been friends and colleagues for almost 25 years, 24 years. And I was making an album at the time, and I was looking for a collaboration with a Palestinian artist for the song We Can Work It Out, the Beatles song, We Can
Yeah.
Work It Out. that I wanted to do in Middle Eastern fashion. And Gildor saw Mira on TV. She was a very popular already actress and personality. And he fell in love with her, and so did I. And look at her. I mean, she's amazing. And the funny
Absolutely.
thing, look at Mira. She has like sort of light hair, green eyes, white skin. Her mother is Bulgarian and her father's Palestinian. Me, on the other hand, see me, I look totally Arabic. I am Arabic. My parents are from Yemen. So Mira and I, we always made quite a pair. We always challenge people's sense of identity and their preconceptions about life. And
Absolutely.
we had a chemistry. I wrote the song, There Must Be Another Way. She translated part of it to Arabic. Then we made an album, and Gildor translated to Hebrew. We sang in 3 languages. We defied everyone's, bad energy. They were saying, oh, the situation is bad. You girls are reflecting something that doesn't exist. And I said, no, we're not. We are throwing our vision into the future of what can be if we learn to live together and how beautiful it can be. And we're inviting you to join us on this path to manifesting this vision. That's what artists do. We
Yeah.
are visionaries. If you want to know what's going on in reality, you can read the newspaper. You don't need us for that. And so that's how we started this journey together. We made an album together. We did a lot of concerts. We were really good friends to this day. During the war as well, Mira and I had already some amazing opportunities to do some Zoom calls with people and a beautiful concert in Berlin. We'll be performing more in the near future together.
The
Um,
concert in Berlin was really shocking because it was just the three of you on the stage,
yeah,
and it was in December, so really in the middle of the conflict, in the middle
yeah.
of everything, and the words, the lyrics of the
Mhm.
song was still very strong.
Of course,
There was
nothing has
there
changed.
was there
Even
was
more than
some
ever, Giacomo, more than ever, because we are saying the most important line of this song is, when I cry for both
for
of
both of
us.
us.
My pain has no name. When I cry to the merciless sky and say, there must be another way.
There
And
must be.
that's, there must be another way. It is impossible that we
There
will
is no
surrender.
other solution.
Yeah, no,
Absolutely.
we can't surrender to endless violence for all of eternity. I mean, how can we? What is the legacy that we're leaving our children? That we couldn't figure things out? That their destiny will be bloodshed, like it was for generations before them? That is ridiculous. So, we have to fight against that. We have to protest. We have to be defiant against that destiny, that extremism and corruption and other criminal activity of all sorts is leading us to. We have to be defiant and go with another way.
Absolutely. That was really from that video of your concert in December. I really had a nice shock. It was a bit sad, the atmosphere. The truth is that it was a bit sad, but the
Mm.
lyrics were very strong. And I've got a
It was in the Berlin Philharmonic Hall. It was sold out, and Mira and most of the musicians were classical musicians that came voluntarily. Some of the most important in the world were there from the classical world, like Marta Argerich and others. Um, and Mira and I were the only, and Gil were the only non-classical musicians. And we made the audience sing with us. That was an amazing thing. And they sang with us this beautiful sentence, which is, if only I could be a candle in the dark, which was written by Mahmoud Darwish. If
yeah.
only I could be a candle in the dark. And this is the longing to be the light where there is darkness, to shine the way when there is oh, is Mira, there's Mira. Is she
Mira,
there?
thank you so much for being here.
Just talking about her, and so she's so dear to my heart. And so Mira and I, that song, by the way, is a song by Mahmoud Darwish that Mira put to music so beautifully. And we had a chance to involve this German audience in this incredible message. And if it were up to me, I would, keep singing and creating with Mira until peace comes. Yalla, we have so much to do. There she is. Of course. Oh,
Thank
Mira,
you
I
so
love her.
much.
She's amazing,
And
amazing woman.
tell me, your political engagement. Is there a date? Is there a moment when you started to be so active and so active in this field? Can you tell us something about the beginning of your political engagement?
Sure. Well, I started, as I mentioned before, um, after Yitzhak Rabin was murdered, assassinated. Yitzhak Rabin, for whoever doesn't remember, was the Israeli prime minister who was one of the orchestrators, the founders, the initiators of the Oslo Accords, together with Yasser Arafat, and it was Bill Clinton at the time, and Shimon Peres. The Oslo Accords were meant to try to implement the two-state solution between Israel and Palestine and to end the conflict. Um, most so there was criticism from the extreme right in Israel, and it was really violent criticism, and they were saying and doing horrible things. The mayor of Tel Aviv at the time decided to try to support Yitzhak Rabin and Shimon Peres by producing this huge peace rally
Yeah,
and and a concert.
and you
And
were
the theme,
singing in the concert.
what? So the
You were
theme was
singing.
yes to peace, no to violence. That was the
Yeah,
theme. Yes
yeah,
to peace, no to violence. And Gildor and I, together with Zohar Fresco, the great percussionist,
yeah.
were on stage singing. You know what we were singing? We were singing that song, Mizmor Laila, the same one that we did with Benny with the group.
Karenor.
Kerenor. So yeah, we were singing that song. Can you imagine? And then 10 minutes later, Yitzhak Rabin was murdered. And I felt my life, my whole being collapse, in terror and in trauma and in sadness and in anger. And I said to myself, this is not possible. I have to do something. And my life changed. We already mentioned a lot of life changing moments in
Yeah,
this broadcast. And I started speaking out. And what can I tell you, Giacomo? I mean, this decision that I made it in a moment. And the most important decisions in our life are made like this sometimes. Um, it changed. I mean, it brought me to the most horrible situations, and also to the most amazing and challenging and powerful. Um, and um, and also brought me to this day. Still fighting for peace, still believing in peace, understanding more than ever that there is no other way to live a decent life, but in coexistence and respect, and at least striving for peace. It's not going to happen overnight, but you have to point and say, "This is what I want. This is how I'm going to
yeah.
educate my children. This is what I'm going to talk about, sing about."
I have the impression that right now the protests are filling the squares, are filling the streets again
Mhm.
after a few months of total despair and total.
Yeah, I'm
Is it
encouraged.
possible?
I'm encouraged to see that people are coming out into the streets again. Right now, we're calling. There are two things going on. One is we are calling for the replacement of this destructive and dangerous government. We're calling for elections now, like tomorrow, because Netanyahu and his entire government, which is dominated by dangerous extremists, has no legitimacy whatsoever to be in power after what happened October 7th. They didn't have legitimacy before either. You remember for 1 year,
Yeah,
I would say almost a million Israelis were in the streets every week
yeah,
protesting against the dictatorship coup that they were trying to implement. But after October 7th, it's mind boggling that they're not, I don't want to say in jail, but they should definitely not be in the parliament. So that's really frustrating. And the other thing is the hostages. In Israel, what's happened with the hostages is unimaginable. It's just unimaginable. It's it, it's a nightmare to think that these people, who knows if they're still alive, babies,
yeah,
young women that we know have suffered and are suffering sexual abuse, young men, elderly that could be your grandfather and grandmother and my own, still being held by Hamas in tunnels. And now the weather has turned bad. It's cold, it's raining, there's no food and medicine. It's terrible. And for many of us, like me as well, and many people in the peace movement, and just people who have a heart and soul, to see the other side, to see what's going on in Gaza, is devastating. You know, you and like we talked about, we have to embrace complex situations. So for me, I'm absolutely against Hamas as a terrorist jihadist organization. It's a nightmare. But to say that for that innocent Gazans need to pay for the horrors of Hamas, it's terrible, and it's almost a catch-22. You don't know what to do. How are you going to fight this terrorist guerrilla organization that hides under the innocent people, without hurting people? But you don't want to hurt them, and you cry for them. And the only solution is a diplomatic one. The only solution is peace. And what you are showing now is a perfect example of that. You're showing these two
Yeah,
women,
tell us.
Bushra Awad. This is Bushra Awad, and same name as Mira. That's myself, and the other woman you saw before is Robbie Damelin. And these two women are part of an organization called the Parent Circle Family Forum,
Okay, I've
which
heard.
is
I read it in
amazing.
Mira's post
Yeah,
actually.
yeah, Mira is involved with them. I am involved with them. One of the many wonderful organizations in Israel that managed to overcome, the pain, the urge for vengeance, which is one of the destructive things happening now in this war. Revenge is such an ugly and terrible emotion that leads us to the most brutal acts of violence. So these women have lost their children. Robbie lost her son. Bushra lost her son. And
So they're
rather
coming
than,
from the two communities,
yes, yes, they're
Palestinians
Palestinian,
and Jewish.
and they are working together for peace. They say nobody should suffer the horrible fate that we suffered. How noble is that?
Yeah,
How
it's
beautiful is
amazing.
that?
It's
And they were my inspiration for writing the lyric of this song called Look at Me. It's on an album called Letters to Bach. All the music is Johann Sebastian Bach, and I wrote lyrics and I'm singing. And I'm particularly proud of this video, this
it's
collaboration.
absolutely beautiful.
The video was made by another very talented woman who is a conceptual artist, who invested so much love and talent in this video. So what can I say? I mean, we have to see. They're wearing the pictures of their son. See, those are
Yeah,
their boys. I mean, it's just so heartbreaking, and I think we owe it to future generations to do better, to give them a better world.
absolutely. There is one sentence that a few times you have repeated. I think one time together with Miran in Berlin, and you said, "As an artist, I embrace complexity. It is the
Mhm.
essence of art and life itself."
Yes.
That is something that we in Europe miss a lot because
Yeah.
we have the tendency also for the social media
Yeah.
patterns. We have the tendency to say black and white, good
Yeah.
and bad, while Israel and Palestine, maybe there is no black and white, there is no good and bad. It's so complex, the situation. I
You
loved
know,
so much that
we
phrase.
we take turns being good and bad. I mean, it's like a bloody tango. It's one step forward, two steps backwards. When one side is willing to make peace, the other is not. When one side reaches out, the other runs away. Cowardly leadership. I've said it so many times. Yeah, we history has not been kind to us in the Middle East, and we have not managed, for various reasons, to solve this problem, which is absolutely solvable.
And
There
it's not
are
eternal. It is not eternal. Can be solved. Can stop.
there is a solution, the two-state solution, or a confederation between two states, or something. There is a diplomatic solution. There are partners, but we need to seek them out. We need to go for it. We need to work for it. I have a lot of criticism about my own country. I also have a lot of criticism about the Palestinian side, the extremism, and the international community that has either ignored the situation or has done very little in order to really assist the solution of this problem. The only positive, if I could even say the word positive, around the horrible massacres and bloodshed and that has been going on, the only positive outcome can be that finally everybody will realize that there is no other way but a diplomatic solution, a two-state solution, that the international community will intervene. I'm looking at the moderate Arab countries, at the UAE, at Egypt, at Saudi Arabia. I'm looking at the European Union and the United States and whoever cares about stability in this region to come and get involved. We really need that involvement. And I reach out to my friends all over the world and I say, I think calling, I stand with Israel or I stand with Palestine, is dangerous and destructive. I think we should be calling for peace between
Mm,
Israel and Palestine.
that's nice.
Rallies together. We have to everyone who believes in peace should be working together for peace, because otherwise we are again in a state of violence,
One
of
against the
conflict,
other, of
of
conflict. Yes.
hatred. I mean, it's
Yeah.
dangerous. And like you mentioned, social media is fueling this with fake
Mm,
news, with AI, with little 15-second stories or little, it's like it's a cartoon of reality, but it's a very dangerous and ugly cartoon. And so I really urge people to seek the truth, to learn, go out and learn about the Palestinian-Israeli conflict if you're interested. But even if you can't, at least make the stand for peace. That is what we need right now.
yeah.
And hopefully that's what we will achieve.
Tell me, following your experience, is it possible that after such a terrible time, there will be a peace, there will be an agreement? Is it possible, as it ever happened in Israel history?
Well, yes. Well, let's go back. Mira said it. I think she was the one to read that part of what we wrote about the fact that we as Jewish, I'm a Jew, and I have a career in Germany. So does Mira. I mean, how many years have passed since one of the worst conflicts in the world, and here we are. We were together, standing on the stage in Berlin. You know, it everything is possible. If that could transform into us standing on stage in Berlin, then the Palestinian Israeli conflict can be solved. Everyone knows that the solution exists. You need political will, and you need to marginalize the extremists, marginalize them, bring moderate powers into the front of the political stage, and have them work together incessantly, indefatigably,
And
until
make
they reach a solution.
so
And it is possible. Yes, Giacomo, it is possible. We also have peace with Egypt. We had terrible wars with Egypt. We have peace with Jordan. The Saudi initiative offered Israel peace 20 years ago already, peace with the entire Arab League, if only we would solve the Palestinian Israeli
yeah,
conflict. And their solutions are on the table. And I hope, like I said, the only positive outcome I can see, that is because of the what happened. And yes, now there is great antagonism and there is pain and this, but we have to be able to put those emotions aside. That doesn't mean we don't carry them, that we don't grieve our dead, that we're not frustrated and broken. But we have to be able to make space for the pain and at the same time create a space for hope and for diplomacy and for coexistence for the future. We have to do those things. It's complex, but we have to do it,
there
because
is no other way
otherwise we're sentencing ourselves and our children to
to that.
endless bloodshed. That
Absolutely,
cannot be our choice. That cannot be our choice.
absolutely. Yes, everything you said, it's so important and so strong. And I promised myself and yourself that we're not going to go through 1 hour of chat. And I enjoyed so much. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you.
And I think also everybody that is watching us
Thank you,
is
my friends. Thank you for your beautiful comments.
that's
Thank
in
you.
Hebrew.
Yeah.
You can read, but I cannot yet. I could, but it would take I don't know 20 minutes maybe.
No, but this woman is saying, and also I love the fact that she has bring them home now on her idea, and that's again all of us are not sleeping, waiting for the hostages to come home. And she's saying, thank you for the music and the activism, and yes, thank you very much, Yael. Yeah, it's a matter of personal responsibility at the end. All of us have a role to play in changing the world. Don't lean back on your couch. Go out there and do something. All of us can do something.
Fabio says something, and I would like to finish our conversation here. Maybe there will be, I don't know,
Mm.
in the next future, maybe with Mira, if she will be available. I would like to
Yeah.
continue because that's in the last
She's
month.
amazing. She's so smart and she's so talented and she has a lot to say. I really hope that you will be able to have a conversation like this with her, and that all these good people will be joining that conversation as well.
Would be great. No, thank you very much. I
So
say
that's
good
Giacomo.
night to you, and I
Thank
hope
you.
we will meet one day in
Yes.
one of our countries. Take
Yes.
care. Good night.
Thank you very
And
much. Good night. Shalom, everybody. Shalom. Good night.
good night. Ciao. What a night. What an evening. What a conversation. I really loved it. It was really an experience. Thank you so much, you all, for being here. And really, you were so many. And Perla, hello, good evening to all of you. I think we're gonna get to bed with a lot of thoughts, positive thoughts, and positive energy that was coming from the meeting with Noah and Benny. And it was good. I think we're gonna do it again. I will keep you posted if there is another Pausa Cafe with another special guest as Noah. So take care, all of you. Good night. Grazie mille. Grazie a tutti. Sorry for my English with such a strong Italian accent. I'm really, thank you very much, Anne Marie. And I think I'm going to cut it here. So good night, everyone. Ciao.